Done. Okay. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Might be 2 seconds, guys. I'm just going to get this live on our page, just on Facebook. Exciting. It's going to be a great night tonight. It's Talk and Tell with Holly and Kel and our wonderful special guest tonight, the wonderful, incredible Sonya Ryan. Yay. Guys, Talk and Tell with Holly and Kel. We've been going weekly. We have some amazing content that we've been covering from child pornography, or child abuse material now, as we like to say. We've been covering things like the signs of abuse, what sexual violence is. We've had some special guests on already, and this week we're really privileged to have Sonya Ryan join us. So my name is Kelly Humphries. I'm an author, a speaker, and survivor of child sexual abuse. My heart is to empower children, to empower families, to protect kids, and this information comes to you from the heart of a survivor. So everything that I say, everything that I talk about comes from my own experience, my own research, and again, it's just brought to you from a space where, my whole desire is just to make a difference in this space, and that's why I've partnered with Holly and Martin from Safe4Kids Australia. I'll just get Holly to introduce herself.
Hi everyone, Holly from Safe4Kids here. Really honoured to be working with Kelly. We've hooked up because I teach a child abuse prevention program to keep kids safe from all forms of abuse. And we're delighted tonight we're so excited to have Sonya with us tonight. We've been talking about grooming in the last episode, and we just thought that Sonya's story would add a whole nother level to what we're doing.
Yeah, and it's really exciting because I've known Sonya for quite some time now, and we met at a conference so long ago, and it was just by, I don't even know, just these paths that are just working their way forward as people who are passionate in this space, and we got to connect, and ever since the moment we connected, we've just been, I've just been watching Sonya's journey. It's just been incredible. So I'll just hand over to Sonya to introduce what she does and who she is, and just the incredible lady that we have in our midst. To feel like I'm in a house of honour here.
Oh gosh, thank you, Kel, and thank you both for having me this evening. My name's Sonya Ryan. I'm the founder and CEO of the Carly Ryan Foundation. My daughter was groomed online by an online predator, and after 18 months of grooming and manipulation, he convinced my daughter to meet with him alone, and he murdered her. She had just turned 15 years old. And I guess through that horrendous trauma and going through the investigation with police, I guess I could just see that this was going to be a huge issue for young people online moving forward. I lost Carly in 2007. And it was just when Facebook was really getting going, and I thought, oh gosh, anonymous, borderless space, and people are going to be able to use this medium really effectively to trick kids, to try and infiltrate their lives and harm them. And so once the trial was finished and Gary Newman was sentenced to life imprisonment, I was then able to incorporate the Carly Ryan Foundation, and that began a really huge journey for me, starting with creating an education program called Project Connect to get out into schools, and of course supporting other victims of crime, and sharing some of the things that I was fortunate enough to receive through my trauma journey with others, to help them to be able to see a path forward, a way forward in their grief, and to give them some practical tips to be able to look at a life of surviving and giving them some kind of hope moving forward. So really my journey is really, I guess, essentially it's the love connection that drives me between myself and my daughter. And when I lost her, I really thought about, okay, what would she want me to do? And, she was such an empath, and she was so loving. And I thought, you know what, she's going to want me to do whatever it takes to make sure that what happened to her doesn't happen to another innocent child in the future. And so that's what I've done. And it's been a huge journey. And I guess we'll get into a little bit more about legislative change and things that I'm doing now, 10 years on, or longer now, and the things that I've been able to shift, and I'm really grateful to be in a position where I can make a bit of a difference.
I just think it's so wonderful, Sonya, because I mean, it was quite some time ago now that I was working in schools, but that's when I first saw, like, when you share, and I get this now because I didn't start my speaking journey until 2015, but just the power of sharing in those spaces, especially with young people who haven't been able to, I guess, connect with anyone who's had that experience, and they do that with when you share, and it's such a beautiful thing. Like, it gives me goosebumps now because I just remember the fist pump behind the curtains is like, okay, you got this, you know. And it's just so beautiful to see the lives that you're impacting all across the world in so many platforms, not just in schools, but you know, you're just sharing being in the USA recently and the amount of amazing stuff you're doing. And so it's not just kids, it's leaders, political leaders, you know, and it's amazing what you can do when you can actually start to share your story. And I'm so passionate about, you know, people speaking up.
I think for me, it's all about the power of love.
Yeah.
You know, and when you're able to connect to that, then, you know, when you have that much passion behind something, and you know, Kel, you know, when you know suffering, you genuinely don't want to see other people go through that same kind of suffering. And that's what drives the work that you're doing, the work that I'm doing, the work that Holly's doing, the work that so many other people are doing around the country, around the world, to try and you know, make sure that our kids have a better future, that they're protected, and they can use the internet, you know, and use it for what it was intended to be used for, and that's connection, you know, information sharing, you know, not being preyed upon by inappropriate adults looking to financially profit from the abuse of innocent, beautiful children.
Yeah.
Sonya,
sorry, Holly.
Oh, no, you go, Kel.
All right, go for it.
I was just going to say, when I first met you and saw you, it was at a conference in Queensland, and I'm sitting in the auditorium and they played the news story and you were behind the curtain, and I've got tears rolling down my face. And then you came out, which is so, you know, you captivated the whole audience. But, you know, to turn this around and to be, you know, working on the world stage like you are, you know, we are all so grateful for that, because, you know, what a legacy that she's given us, because, you know, I bet, you know, in a million years you wouldn't have ever, you know, gone down this track.
No, honestly, I didn't think I was going to survive losing her. It was the most horrendous time of my life, and you know, I truly didn't think I was going to make it. But, you know, something happened to me in that very horrible trauma. It's kind of almost like I met some Buddhist Tibetan masters who said it's like that level of trauma, kind of layers of yourself dissolve and you are left in a very pure place, a kind of sense of purity, and you have an immense amount of clarity, and you are essentially taken back to your true self, your true nature, without conditioning, without, you know, your ego dissolves, and you're left in this really clear space. And I guess in that, because I mean, I didn't take any drugs. The doctors were trying to give me all kinds of things, and I just knew if I touched any drugs or I went down that road, that I'd lose connection to self and I'd lose connection to my daughter. And I just felt this enormous, I don't know, power. I mean, I'm not religious or anything, but gosh, something happened to me, and it just, this sort of love kind of rose up inside of me, and it was like a dial tone to my daughter. And all of a sudden, just all of these amazing synchronicities started to happen, and doors started to open, and the people that I needed to meet, I met. And, you know, things just started unfolding quite naturally and effortlessly. And that's kind of when I knew, okay, I'm on the right path here. I have to focus on what I'm doing now and try and look at the bigger picture. And essentially, I've lost my daughter. I've got nothing to lose. So the sky's the limit, and I will go all the way as far as I need to do what I can to make sure that, you know, what happened to her didn't happen to or doesn't happen to another innocent kid.
So powerful, Sonya. Thank you. I know that that's hard to share, especially when you go back to those memories and you're sharing that. So I just appreciate that, because I think a lot of people really dismiss the idea that it could possibly happen to their kid, you know, to their son, to their daughter, and they sometimes don't. They brush over this content, this type of stuff, and they think, oh, that's never going to apply to me. That's not relevant. But I just appreciate so much that you're standing up in this space, because it does happen, and it happens all the time.
Yeah, it does. And Carly was the first girl murdered by an online predator in Australia, but there was another young girl in Victoria, Nina Ballansoft, that was also murdered in 2010. Similar circumstances, was offered a job opportunity, thought it was real, went to meet somebody, and he took her life from her. And, you know, and of course we have many victims of abuse that survive. And, you know, then we have the fallout of them having to manage that terrible trauma and suffering and trying to find a way forward in that. So, you know, I can't really think of many other topics that are as important as protecting our children. And, you know, our kids are our future, and literally our future. And if we don't face this horrible topic head on, then we are letting our kids down, because, you know, there are far too many children being groomed, being offended against, and that leaves us with a whole generation of potentially, you know, traumatized people that have to try and pull their lives together and try and find some kind of hope. So I think that's what obviously drives all of us, you know, to do what we can to protect as many as we can.
Sonya, last week, and just really, if it's okay, last week we spoke about the stages of grooming, and I just want to quickly go over them, because I've got a question for you about the betrayal and the grooming. I just don't want to forget what I want to ask you, so don't let me forget, because there's so many mums out there and dads are blaming themselves for what's happened to their child, and I want to just go into that briefly, if that's okay. But last week, Holly and I touched on the precursors of, you know, what an offender does before they select or target the child. Holly, do you have them with you?
Sorry, they have to get over their own internal inhibitors, then the external inhibitors, and then they finally get down to you know, so the little voice in their head saying it's not, you know, right to hurt children and things like that. But then they get access to the children, and that's the one where education is so important, because you know, educating both families to keep kids safe, and also children to keep kids safe.
Because we went through, and it was Finkelhor and Olsen did a study, and the first stage was targeting. So they actually choose the child based on their child's vulnerability, emotional neediness, isolation. Then they gain the victim's trust. So the sex offender gains the trust by watching, gathering information about the child, get to know what they need, how to fill that need. And
exactly, then it happened to Carly, pretty much.
And then so when they fill that need, it's basically, it could be they may assume noticeably more important gifts in the life of the child, extra attention, affection, all that sort of stuff. You might see that the child's got extra money in their bank account. And there's a lot of things that happen in that. So that's when we really have to start asking some questions. But this fourth stage is isolating the child. That's when the child feels like they have to be ashamed and they're silenced, and they can't sort of tell mum or dad about what's going on. And that's where it starts to get really quite dangerous. And we need to have that education like much before that. And then there's the sexualization of the relationship. So there's a bit of desensitization that starts to happen. You know, and I sort of gave the example last week, Sonya, because obviously this is my story. So a lot of people sort of know who I am already, but that, you know, my child abuse happened from the age of 7 up until 15. And, you know, it started with, you know, book reading, and it was all nice. And then it was just like a little bit of a touch on the bum here. And, you know, he might have, you know, showed his penis every now and then sort of thing. And then it led into the more sexual acts. And so it was just a gradual desensitization of the act until it sort of, you know, started from that point of view. So you know, had conversations been happened before the sexualization of the relationship, you know, that's where things couldn't sort of change. So and then 6 is the maintaining control, and so that's when the victim feels like they have to be silenced, or they can't say anything, or they can't speak up. So I just wanted to highlight that, because we did the pre-recording last week on that, and I know that we, like you're saying before, this is a very dark topic and we don't talk about it.
It's difficult for people. I mean,
yeah,
gosh, for generations, what's happened for years and years and years and years. So common that, you know, a child knows is offended against them, or a family member, or somebody close to them, and it's just, oh, you know, hush, hush, you know, just get on with it. It'll be okay. We don't want to bring that up. Or fear that if somebody says something, that they're the ones that are going to get in trouble.
yeah,
Or, you know, be looked down upon or something like that. It's really quite bizarre.
yeah.
I find it really difficult to understand, but, you know, you're right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you, because I just know, I mean, I spoke at a conference not so long ago where there was a lot of mums in the room that were blaming themselves for the betrayal. You know, like, I know you didn't know Gary Francis Newman, not in the same way that you would know, like, you know, an uncle or another close grandfather or something in the family, but can you shed some light on the betrayal and the grooming? Because there's a lot of people out there that just blame themselves and they don't actually realize they were also groomed.
Yes, yeah, completely. Because, you know, I think as human beings, we try and see the best in everyone around us. Gary Newman portrayed himself as a father of 2 sons, a security officer, an ex-army officer. He created fake security license, fake identification. Everything he presented to me looked legitimate. And why would I think it wasn't? You don't meet somebody, you don't walk down the street and meet somebody and think, oh gosh, you could be a child predator and a murderer. You just don't do that. Some of the people that prey on children are in quite, you know, important positions.
Yes.
We've seen this, you know, all over the world, taking advantage of their positions to groom and harm kids. So you don't kind of go along in life thinking that somebody that you're talking to could potentially harm you. I think for me, the worst case scenario I went to when things weren't right, and I could tell that there was just too much involvement, because he used his son to lure Carly. And I thought, well, why is this father so invested in what his son is doing with my daughter?
Yeah.
And it just didn't really make any sense. But as far as I went was, maybe he could be some kind of predator. It certainly didn't go to, he's going to murder my child.
No, you don't think that, do
Ever.
you?
No, ever, you know. And so I think for normal functioning human beings, it's really important to understand that, you know, how could you know that an adult around your child had a sexual interest in them, when that is not normal? That is not how most of us operate. How could you possibly know that person had that kind of a focus on your child? Unless you've got a crystal ball and you've got some kind of psychic power, you couldn't even dream that somebody would attempt to harm a minor in that way. And so, you know, I'm not sitting here saying I didn't have any guilt. I had guilt for many, many years. Why couldn't I see it? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? Why did I believe what he said? You know, or of course. But it's easy to do that in hindsight when you look back. But even the detectives in Carly's case said they'd never seen so much complexity to the grooming that Gary Newman did. The various different profiles he had to back up his fake profile to Carly. So he created fake family, fake friends. He attempted to meet girls in the US, in Singapore. He was organising to meet a 14-year-old girl in Perth when they arrested him for Carly's murder 11 days after she was found. You know, I mean, how can we as just normal people be any kind of a match for a predator like that. You know, it's just beyond belief. It's like something out of some kind of a horror movie. And, you know, so I guess for the people that might be listening that are victims, or that their kids have been victims of abuse, there is no use in punishing yourself for what's happened to your child. That doesn't help you. It doesn't help your child. It doesn't help moving forward, trying to find some kind of hope, you know, a coming together, a reconnection, communication, love. You know, it might sound a bit corny, but, you know, love is the only way forward, is to come together and embrace each other and forgive yourself. And, you know, it's hard to sort of talk about this on a Facebook Live event, but I'm trying to, I guess, do my best to kind of share my heart.
I think it's beautiful, Sonya, and I think you really do touch on, and there has to be some self-forgiveness too, because, you know, there's so much self-blame, and I know for my beautiful mum, she blames herself, and my dad, like, you know,
why didn't I see it? Why don't I know? Yeah. Well, like I said, unless you've got a crystal ball, or you're psychic, or you have the ability to see through walls, or, you know, that, how could you possibly know that somebody had that kind of intention towards your child?
Yeah, you just can't. And I know myself, like, my uncle was quite cunning, you know, and he just would never have known. Used opportunities where, you know, it was mutual, that, you know, I love fishing, he loved fishing, so we'd spend time fishing together. And so, you know, there was nothing unusual about it. It was just so normal. But, you know, and it wasn't just anything, there wasn't nothing strange about it. And, you know, I'm quite comfortable with sharing that stuff now. Like, there was probably at a time that I probably couldn't do that because I blame myself. But, you know, it takes a lot of work to let go of that. And
the only person responsible for abusing a child is the abuser themselves.
Yes.
End of story.
Yeah.
They made a conscious choice to harm a minor, and it's on them.
Yeah. I thank you so much for sharing that, Sonya, because I think there's just so many people that need to absolutely hear that, and time and again. And I've been saying a lot lately, you've got to get the right people around you to reinforce these messages and to help you understand, and to get the right knowledge. You know, don't for me, I went to my perpetrator to ask why things were happening, and it's the wrong person to go to, you know.
You manipulated.
Yeah, and that's how it is. And so
child.
Yeah, but you're definitely right about the complexity of the abuse. And I know there's a lot of offenders have multiple accounts and multiple fake profiles, and, you know, there's videos that will pop up in like the middle of a Peppa Pig scenario sort of thing on YouTube, and there's so many things that are going on out there at the moment.
And they are very cunning and actually quite intelligent when it comes to grooming children.
Yeah.
And in the work that I do with police all around the country, with jacket teams, task forces, and I go into operations with them sometimes, and some of the things that I've seen are just unbelievable. And, you know, even predators going onto adult dating sites to look for people with photographs of their children to see if they, you know, can potentially see a vulnerable person that may be looking for a relationship, and they might be able to access their kids. You know, they're just looking for vulnerabilities in any area they can get into, to take advantage of a good person.
Well, just oh, sorry, Holly, have you got something?
I was just going to say, I've seen similar things on TikTok where there was one particular dad who was terribly bullying this girl with special needs, and yet his profile picture is of a nice dad with probably an 8-year-old son sitting on his knee. So, you know, people are using their children also as a decoy.
Yes.
You just can't believe how manipulative they can be. So, yeah, it's the eSafety Commission put out some stats this week to say that 1 in 5 children are not being supervised at all on social media. And so, you know, this is why I'm so grateful for you, Sonya, to to open this up, because parents need to get involved with their children.
Yes.
Because we cannot have 1 in 5 kids having a free-for-all. You know, we wouldn't let our kid go into major city unsupervised, or drop our kid off at a, you know, strip club, and yet kids are allowed on the internet unsupervised. It's just crazy.
Well, I think, you know, if the analogy I like to use is, would you put your child in a car with no driving experience and tell them to drive down the road and get you a carton of milk? No, you wouldn't do that. Yet we give them access to a device, and we put them on the internet, and we kind of just let them do their thing because all their friends are just doing their thing, and, you know, like, it's just kind of the norm. But for a child with no life experience and you know, probably not as much emotional intelligence, maybe not a lot of critical thinking skills, then they get online and they're open, they're trusting, they're willing to share their information, they're looking for connection, they're looking for friendship, they trust people, they believe that what people tell them is truth. You know, so for us as parents, it's really important that you must remember that you are paying for that device, and you are paying for access to the internet until your child is until your child is financially independent. And so you should be setting guidelines. We have a family online safety contract that's available on our website. If you go to carlyryanfoundation.com and go to the resources page, you'll find it there, along with fact sheets on every kind of app and gaming platform you can imagine. So go on, get that contract, download it, read it together with your child. You both sign it, and they are the basic guidelines for being given the privilege to access the internet. On top of that, I truly believe in open, honest communication. So sitting with your child and explaining to them, okay, you know, I've given you access to this space. Now I want you to tell me if you see, hear, feel anything that doesn't feel right. Come to me. I'm not going to yell at you and take you off the internet. We'll work through something together. And if I don't know how to address it and I don't know what to do, then we'll go to the Office of the Safety Commissioner website together. We'll go to the Carly Ryan Foundation and we'll contact them. We'll contact Kel. We'll contact Holly. We'll find a way forward to be able to come up with a plan together. Because your safety is of the most importance here. And until they're 18, until they're an adult and they can look after their safety themselves, it really should be a non-negotiable, in my opinion. And you know, that contract is available on the Think You Know website as well. The AFP loved it, so they co-branded it with us. And there's a whole bunch of other resource setting booklets. There's a whole range of things that are available on the site. So use them. I mean, when Carly was online, we had nothing. You know, it was have a computer for schoolwork, for homework, and there was no online safety education. I attended the very first Cyber Safety Summit in Canberra in 2010. And so we've come a long way. There's now a lot of resources out there that are available for parents. And also too, the other thing that's really important is to know every single app that's on your child's device. So, you know, have a look at the apps they're using. See if they enable private chat functionality, because most predators will access children on apps via private chat. Also remember, if Instagram's on private, people can still private message your child. So talk to them about opening up messages from randoms. Have a look at the functionality on those apps, understand how they work. And that's where our app fact sheets are so helpful, because it gives a rundown of what an app is, how it works, the settings that need to be put in place for young users, things to look out for, things to be mindful of. And once you know the information about all the different apps, then you are empowered, educated, equipped to be able to effectively manage those apps with your child. Because if you don't know what an app does or how a gaming platform works, how on earth are you supposed to understand how to, you know, do the settings, how to have conversations about the platform, and what are some of the things that your child might encounter? Talk to them about some of the scenarios they may encounter, some of the things that are not appropriate, those kinds of things.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, Sonya. Thank you. I know for a lot of people, especially older parents, I have no idea how to use technology. So I'm sure
overwhelming.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even I struggle sometimes. I'm like, where's Zoom? I don't know what that is. So yeah, I totally get it. But I did want to ask you if you did you want to go into Carly's Law at all?
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So when going through the investigation with police and everything, over time, as I was sort of sitting back and observing, you'd see that police couldn't arrest a predator or a pedophile until after they'd harmed the child. And I thought, well, that's crazy. So why can't they intervene sooner? So I drafted Carly's Law with the then Nick Xenophon, and we did a couple of different versions. And in 2017, Carly's Law was officially passed as federal law, and it was one of the best days of my life. So Carly's Law essentially says any preparation to harm a child, including misrepresenting age to a minor online under the age of 16, would mean 10 years imprisonment. And so the law passed, it went into the criminal code of our country. And good news is I had a meeting in Peter Dutton's office with the AFP in Canberra, and they said they're using the heck out of it. And it's like a gateway law. So it gets them in the door in that preparation to harm stage. And often what will happen is police will then be able to lay additional charges, because often a predator will, they'll go in and arrest with Carly's Law, but then often they will have child exploitation material on their computer. They'll have a range of other charges that can be laid as well. And then even better news is we then drafted a tighter version of Carly's Law, and that was passed in South Australia in 2018. And the tighter version says, if you lie about your identity and age to a minor online and then attempt to meet that minor, the attempting to meet is an offence. So police are able to get predators in that grooming stage again before a child is actually harmed. So we're preventing that suffering. And then what I didn't realise is that it's the first law of its kind in the world. So you can imagine my surprise when the UN contacted me. And then they got me on a conference call. I was actually in Queensland. They got me in a conference call in my hotel room, and they said, we just want to acknowledge what you've done for children, and we've got representatives from all over the world on the line that would like to say thank you. And so in all these different languages, German, French, like all over the world, people were saying thank you to me. And I think I cried after that call for about, I think probably a good hour. That was, I didn't because when you're on this path, Kel, and you just and Holly, and you're just focused, and you just got this tunnel vision focus of what you want to achieve, and you're just focusing on that. And I didn't realise how much Carly's Law would impact. And so now I've been travelling around the world. I went to London, been to the US, and I was supposed to have a meeting with one of Trump's advisors in April, but of course, due to the pandemic, that didn't happen, but something will happen in the future. But the other countries are interested in Carly's Law and implementing it. New Zealand, boy, I got invited to speak at an event in Abu Dhabi about the royal family on Carly's Law. It's just been an absolute, if somebody had said to me when I lost Carly, girl, you're going to go on and you're going to introduce federal law, which is going to go around the world, and you're going to, all these kids, police going to be able to intervene and get kids out of, the most horrendous situations, babies, toddlers, before they're about to be live stream abused instead of after. I would have just gone, shut up, I won't survive losing my girl. There's no way this is going to happen. So to say that I'm grateful to be here, that I'm grateful to be able to do what I do, that I can string a sentence together, and, what can I say? I'm so grateful and feel very honoured to be able to be in the position that I'm in now.
I just I just love you, Sonya. You're amazing. It's my heart, and I can just feel myself getting a bit like emotional because I've seen you speak quite a number of times now, and every single time the impact doesn't change on me. Like, it is just so profound, and to watch your journey and to watch what you're achieving is just phenomenal. And bringing light, especially to grooming and online space, it's just it's massive. And you know, when I said to Holly, like, let's see if we can ask Sonya if she'd come on. I wasn't sure that we were going to be able to get you to come on board. And
oh, sweet, I'm just a person. Of course,
I know, but you're so busy. And I was just like, oh, I don't know if she's going to be able to have time for us. But I'm just so blessed that we get to have this platform and share, because you know, there's just so many people that just need to hear the realities of this, and that it can happen, and that it does happen, and that, you know, kids everywhere are being exposed to this sort of stuff, and it's got to come out.
With the pandemic,
Yes.
also too, we've seen a significant rise in child exploitation material being distributed online. So it's really important for viewers to know. I mean, a lot of you are probably already aware, but we had some questions put forward in the Senate, and they were responded to by the AFP and other agencies. And yes, there's been a significant increase in a 3-month period. And so actually just today we shared a video from the Australian Centre to Counter Child Exploitation on our Facebook page. So if people want to head over to the Carly Ryan Foundation Facebook page and give us a follow and have a look at some of our content, people might find it helpful and interesting to have a little bit of a read there. And also keep up to date with what we're doing and the whole load of things that I've got planned for when I can get back on a plane.
So Sonya, tell us more about the foundation. So you're obviously a not-for-profit.
Mm-hmm.
Give it a plug.
Well, we're a not-for-profit organisation. Started, 2010. Started education programs. We have Project Connect, which we deliver to schools nationally, and it's got 100% positive feedback. Thank goodness. So we're going to get an external evaluation of that too soon. And it's impacted a lot of communities. I mean, Kel knows I did it with her way back in the day and visited some schools up in her area, which was really successful. And again, I think it's a lived experience. That's what connects communities to our foundation. And so we are DGR registered, so all donations to our organisation are tax deductible. And some of the things that people will be contributing to when they donate are things like getting me into the offices of Attorney Generals all around Australia to get the state version of Carly's Law into the criminal codes of every state. Good news is I got a call from the Shadow Attorney General this morning in Queensland saying that they have some good news around the state Carly's Law, and I want to do some media around that this weekend, so stay tuned. I can't say too much more, but it's pretty exciting news.
How's West Australian going? We need it here.
I will have to have a look at the response letter from WA.
Good, let me know, because I'm happy to push the barrel for you.
Yeah, because MPs have the federal version of Carly's Law and the state version of Carly's Law to choose from when they arrest, depending on the crime. So I want to advocate for that more, to enhance our education program, to be able to support victims of crime. There's a whole range of things that I'm doing. I'm also looking at, I don't know if anyone saw recently, but we pushed the government to pass the Crimes Against Children bill that was stalled on the mandatory sentencing aspect, and both sides of government couldn't agree on. So we were pushing for that to get passed, and it got passed a couple of weeks ago, which means a whole lot of benefits for victims of this crime type. Massive benefits. And so I'm doing a lot of political advocacy work to amend and update laws to be in alignment with current technologies. I also want to see free mental health care for everyone from 0 to 18 in this country, because at the moment, you know, we have to wait until a child's broken before they get 6 free appointments, and the waiting list is horrendous. So I just don't think it's good enough. You know, we need to be able to have our kids access practical counselling support services right through their growing. right from a young age to build core values, resilience, build their critical thinking skills, emotional intelligence, how to cope with life, which is hard. And sentencing reforms, seeing increased sentences for crimes against children majorly, major increases. You know, how is it that somebody will go to jail for longer for armed robbery than you will if somebody rapes a baby? I don't understand. I don't get it, and it's just not good enough. And so, you know, I mean, you can, well, everyone watching can join our fight and help me to advocate for these things and support our cause and either donate, get onto our socials and have a look at what we're doing and support our socials. I mean, somebody watching could literally share one of our posts and it could, you know, impact someone's life in a big way. Share our resources. I mean, you can all be Carly's advocates and share our app sheets. They went viral last year. We were getting calls for them from all over the world, you know. So really it's just about sharing information, coming together, collaborating, and as communities we can really make huge differences. It's quite extraordinary what the power of people can do, and you know, going back to that whole the whole power of purpose and you know, care for one another.
Yeah, I think, and it's really important. And just so you know, oh, absolutely. Just a couple of comments there. I will put the Carly Ryan Foundation links into this feed. So if you do want to make a donation, and I can 100% stand out, and I know the impact that it has. I've seen it in the students. I've seen disclosures come as a result of the words that Sonya speaks and just sharing Carly's story. And, you know, kids come forward and they say, hey, that's my story too. What can I do now? And so it is harm prevention, but it also saves lives and it prevents offences continuing to occur. So, you know, and not just in schools, but, you know, changing the legislation so that, you know, police can actually engage and step in and make this stop before it actually becomes, you know, a bigger problem. So, you know, if you can donate, again, I can advocate 100% for the work Sonya does. I've seen it in action. It is just incredible. So please jump on board with that.
It's a real honour too to be able to see, you know, I mean, I have a young team of presenters and they're all on socials and the kids can connect with them. And of course, when I talk, of course, you know, they go, oh my gosh, it's Carly's mama. And so they're kind of a bit taken aback. But to see how many come forward and say things like, you know, this happened to me and I've been holding on to this for 6 months and I didn't know how to talk to anyone about it, and they disclose. Yep. Or, you know, I mean, what an honour, what a position to be in, that a young person could feel, you know, confident enough and feel a connection enough to come forward and share their journey, share their story, whatever they've been through. It's quite, it's full on. It's quite an amazing place to be in.
Yeah, and I consider, because I get so many disclosures myself, not just adults but kids as well. I feel like it's an honour when somebody trusts me enough to share that information. So I don't know, Holly, you take so many disclosures yourself, like, and again, it's all just opening up the conversation, and it's just so important. And that's why we're doing this Talk and Tell series, because, you know, the moment we start doing this, people are like, oh my God, you know, it's all just falling into place. I get it. Or I never understood that before, or that's my story and it happened to me, but I didn't know why. And it's just, there's so much good stuff happening out of this. So yeah.
Really important.
But I did want to ask you, there's a couple of questions that have just sort of popped up. And I know I've just got a lady says, my 14-year-old son is online right now. How can I tell if someone is grooming him?
Well, know what apps he's on, know what platforms he's on, and understand the chat functionality, and then also to have conversations with him about who he's talking to and some of the things that he's talking about to people. I mean, we understand that sometimes kids buddy up with strangers on online gaming, it's what they do. But if the conversation becomes personal, if they're starting to ask location, private details, and, you know, give your kids the answers, like talk to them about some of the things that might happen. You know, if somebody asks you where we live, or if somebody asks you for your phone number, or somebody asks you to jump off this game and get into an app that enables private chat or Discord or something like that, just be really careful what you're talking to that person about, because they can portray themselves online however they like to. They can be whomever they want to be. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's the same person in real life. And so it's about teaching our kids critical thinking skills, getting them to question what people's intentions are in the online space, and go to our website and download that online contract this weekend.
Yeah.
Straight away.
I guess too, Sonya, sorry, we cover a lot of, not just online, but obviously in the home too. So and I know you do a lot of work in all areas, not just online, but how would you suggest having that conversation with your child if you are starting to see something? Like what sort of conversation, like it's at home though, like, you know, it might be someone close to the child. What's that, sorry?
What do you mean, see something?
You know, like if you're saying, oh, you know, someone's spending more time with them than they should, or, you know, why do you have $50 in your account? I didn't give you that. Where'd that come from, you know?
Yeah, well, inquire, and don't stop inquiring until you have an adequate answer. And there's nothing wrong with if, you know, listen to your gut. You know, our gut is generally always right. And if something doesn't feel right, if somebody's, you know, wanting to spend a lot of time or offering to babysit your child a lot, or offering to take them out on excursions or something like that, you know, I mean, just question it. And you don't have to say yes. You know, you can say, no, I don't feel comfortable with that, actually. Thank you, but no thank you. You know, it's just finding your voice, and finding your power, and I guess setting boundaries as to what you feel comfortable with. And if you have any suspicions, to reach out to police straight away. Don't hesitate. I hesitated, and I lost my daughter.
Sonya, do you advocate parents, you know, asking children to see their phones and stuff like that?
Absolutely. Why not? You're providing that device. You're paying for access to the internet. You know, it doesn't mean you have to go through all of their messages, but you should be knowing what apps they're using and what settings they're on. I mean, Instagram pages should be set to private. Unless you're running a business or you're a celebrity, everyone's Instagram should be set to private, in my opinion. You know, or you have two different Instagrams. You have one for your business and one for your public life, and one that's personal, where you can share things with people that you choose to share more personal and private things with. You know, it's really, really important to know what's on your child's device, how they're using it, how they're interacting, and who has access to them. Most importantly, I mean, gosh, we're getting reports of you know, mum running into the shop, getting milk, and 6-year-olds in the back seat, producing their own child exploitation material on an app within minutes. You know, kids are being groomed within, you know, such a short amount of time. And Carly was groomed for over 18 months, where it was a slow kind of building of trust, and he was trying to show care, and, you know, trying to be a little I guess, a bit of a mentor, trying to come in on that angle. But now we're seeing the grooming being reduced significantly to hours, and mum and dad are in the other room making dinner, and the child's in their bedroom, and they're being coerced into doing behaviours that they would never normally do. And people's parents would say, well, my child would never do that. But unfortunately, the techniques of a predator, they're very cunning, very intelligent, and they can persuade a young person to do something they would never normally dream of doing. And they try and normalise that sexualised behaviour and say things like, you know, this is normal, this is what people do, you're really beautiful, you're really handsome, whatever it might be. And then eventually they're able to manipulate that child, because the child is a child and they don't have the relationship experience, lived experience that we often do as adults.
And there's also ghost apps that parents might not be aware of, where kids can hide all their social media or pornography or images that they've been sent.
Yeah, calculator app is a big one. There's many calculator apps. It looks like a calculator on a phone, but upon pressing on it, it'll ask for a PIN, and it opens up a private vault where photos and videos and things are stored. We've got an app fact sheet on that on our website as well. But, you know, for anyone watching, if you have any concerns or you want any advice, or if you even want any dialogue on how to approach certain subjects with your child when it comes to the online space, email us. It's just info@carlyryanfoundation.com. And we can send resources and answers to your questions and give you support. Because, you know, we became parents, but we're just human after all. We're not experts in every area. And especially in this space, we didn't grow up with the internet. You know, this wasn't how we interacted with each other. And so it can be quite overwhelming, daunting. You know, but it's really important for people watching to know you're not alone. You're not in this space on your own, and there is support out there, and you know we're here for you. I mean, that's why I incorporated this organisation, was to assist people and help people, and you know, through my lived experience, you know, able to give people the confidence to come forward. And there is never any judgment, there's never, you know, any blame, or you know, it's just we should all just be here for each other, because life is a journey, and life is a journey of learning. And you know, you've got to start somewhere. And you know, Google's good too. You know, you can type into a Google search what is Snapchat, what's Snap Maps, how does it work, you know, what are the settings I need to look at for my child. There's so much information online now that you can access, and you know, easily input that into your day-to-day life, and just do one thing at a time so that it doesn't become overwhelming.
Yeah. Sonya, I just want to go back to, and I know that it's such vital information, and again, I'm going to put the website in the comments feed, so just look out for that, guys. But I didn't think it was happening so quick. How is it, what's the process when they're doing it? Like, I mean, obviously, like my grooming happened over a period of time. It was someone who was very close to our family. That's a little bit different type of grooming, but what's this 6-hour business? Like that's unheard of.
Oh, it's very, very common now. So a person will, you know, a child will be on an app. They might get PM'd by someone on Instagram or something, and might say, "Hey, you're really pretty," or whatever. "What are you doing? Show me a picture of yourself." And you know, children being children, you know, not understanding that person may have the wrong intention or a bad intention. They're open, they're loving, they're trusting. Look at all the adults that might be around them in their lives.
Yeah.
Really all good people. How can a child be prepared for a predator like that?
No,
and so they go along with what that predator wants them to do, because they just think that person on the other end likes them, cares about them, you know, is giving them attention. You know?
Yeah, so filling up the need, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it can start off really innocuous. Like I've heard of one guy pretending to be a foot doctor, and you know, in another country, and send me pictures of your feet, and kids go, "I'll send you pictures of my feet." Yeah, no worries.
Yep.
And it just escalates from there.
Yep, absolutely. That's a really good point. Yeah. So they kind of like normalize make it seem all very normal, and then it turns bad very quickly. Yep.
Oh, wow. It's just such a dark betrayal. Like, and I think that's the biggest thing. People can't understand the betrayal of the grooming. Like, it's a little bit different when it's not known to the child, but you know, we talk a lot, like I said, about what's happening behind closed doors, and how you forgive the betrayal of someone who is meant to be a trusting, loving, caring, supportive adult in the child's life. You know,
unfortunately, that a lot of people are not, and we want them to be, but they're just not.
No.
And they are not good people, and very self-serving and cruel. And I wish that I could sit here and say the world wasn't like that. I wish that I could say that the world was full of people that cared about each other, and that you know, we all supported each other. I think we've seen a little more of that through this pandemic, where I think people have been forced to stop, pause in their lives, and look at what's actually really important, and that's connection and with one another, and to support each other. But you know, unfortunately, I don't think in my lifetime or any lifetime, and remember for thousands of years, we've seen the good and bad of humanity. And this is, to me, one of the most horrendous, most sickening sides of humanity, one of the darkest sides of humanity. But, you know, we have to look at this head on. We have to face it head on as a community to create change. If we keep on just push, you know, people keep on, you know, putting their hand up and not wanting to look at it, then our kids are going to continue to suffer. And so we really have to fight for them. We have to fight for kids that don't have a voice, that don't have the ability to protect themselves.
No, that's right.
And, you know, we just have to pull together and do whatever it takes.
Yeah, yeah. And it's such a powerful message. And I know you've been able to share your heart tonight, and I just appreciate that so much. And we just have a couple of minutes left, but there's not so many questions on here, Sonya, but just a lot of people just acknowledging and thanking, and just generally in agreement. But someone saying avoid TikTok, and just saying thank you for the alerts and the tips, and just needing to educate, and just the awareness raising is becoming very clear through this. So if anyone's got any last minute questions, pop them on now.
Remember to go to our website for the fact sheets. There's one on TikTok as well.
Yeah.
Just be mindful. Remember that anywhere there are children online, there will be predators looking to exploit children.
Yeah.
So, you know, whether it's a gaming platform or an app, you know, maybe in the evenings at a certain time of night, put all devices on charge, on flight mode or whatever in a certain area of the house, and including yours as parents. It's important to do it together as a family, and just, you know, don't let your kids have their device in their bedroom alone, unattended overnight. Not a good idea, because there are unfortunately people on platforms looking for unsupervised kids that are bored at night, that want to have conversations. And as much as you think your child wouldn't talk to a stranger, all it takes is a bad day. All it takes is a fight with a friend. All it takes is one little thing for somebody to say to a child, oh, you know, what do you need? How can I help you? And coming across as being, you know, genuinely concerned for their welfare, when in actual fact that's just a ploy to access them and harm them. So just be, you know, really mindful. And there's certainly a lot of things as parents that we can do to really minimise the risk of your child being groomed or connected with online in an inappropriate way.
Holly, have you got anything you want to add or ask last minute just before we shut up for the night?
No, because she's done it so many times. Sonya beautifully answered all my questions without having to be asked. So I just really would like to thank you for giving up your time, and I hope people go to your page and support you. I'm also sharing it on my Facebook page, so I'm going to call all my Safe4Kids Crusaders to get on there and support the foundation.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thanks everyone that's joined. I really hope that you've gained something from tonight's session, and hopefully we'll do this again, Kel and Holly.
Absolutely. For anyone who doesn't know, who hasn't read my book, Sonya wrote the foreword for my book, and I've just been forever grateful for that connection that we've had. I had a moment of sadness the other night, and Sonya straight on the phone, what's going on with you? You know, she's just a beautiful, beautiful soul, and it's very rare sometimes to find people that act from the place of love that she comes from, and the capacity that she has to give is just incredible. So
do you, Kel, and you're a survivor, and you're also inspirational, amazing, and you're going to continue to do a lot of amazing work to support others. And you know, it's so important when we both know how important this is. And you know, keep on going, girl. Keep on going.
We got to do it. Well, you can't do it. The one thing I'm learning is you can't, like, you have to do it alone. You make those decisions by yourself, but you certainly don't get to travel the journey by yourself, and you can't do it without the warriors next to you. So I'm just so blessed that there's an army rising. So but it's just really cool. Sorry, Karen, yes, you can ask your followers to share the links. I would love you to do that. Thank you very much. But so just, can you it's Carly Ryan Foundation. It's not .com, it's .org, isn't it?
No, it's carlyryanfoundation.com. And then on there is links to our Instagram, our Insta page. We're on Twitter at Team Carly CRF. We're on Insta, we're on Facebook. People can book our school sessions via the website. We're just in the process of putting up a Book a Sonya page on our website because I have so many requests to speak that we're having to put some kind of request thing up now. And I need a few of me to,
Yeah,
I
hope I get like that one day.
You will. You're already there.
No, not yet, but I will one day. But yeah, so if you want to donate, guys, again, I advocate 100%. The Carly Ryan Foundation does amazing work, so please get on board with them. My website, guys, kellyhumphries.com, and Holly is safe with the number 4kids.com.au. So thank you guys for being part of our conversation tonight. Sonya may be able to join us again later in the season for it's a season. We've got a show now, Holly. But for the cyber safety and some tips on that as well, because I don't know anyone who's more informed than you, Sonya. So
thank you both for inviting me this evening. You're both doing amazing work too, and I'm really grateful for everything that you're both doing to help protect many beautiful innocent kids. So lots of love.
Thank you. All right, guys, so that's it for tonight. Look forward to chatting with you either next week, but stay tuned for dates and times, guys. Thank you. It's Talk and Tell with Holly and Kel and the lovely Sonya Ryan.
Bye.
All right.